I've got something for you. Recycling bin revolving fund. Last one, which was the bond for playgrounds. Mike, are you here for number 2? The lights. It'd be nice if we could get.
You're always here late, so thank you up for.
Yeah, and then the Valley Arena one with Marcos.
Is he coming?
He knows it's at 6:30. What's that? Living the dream. That Springdale Park garage came down. No, we took it down. Jose. We filled up 3 trailers. Got out, and then we were going to demolish it and take this stuff. As we were pulling equipment out, the building kind of went.
You were playing Jenga.
Pretty much, yeah. Deal. We're gonna get started? Okay. All right, we'll get started, and as people come in, we'll tackle them. So, with that, make a motion to open the finance meeting for 11/29/2017. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Counselor Vacan, Counselor Lopez, Counselor Tallman, Counselor McGee are here. One else those who has come in. With that, there was a request to go out of order for item number 8 to
I'll make a
take it up?
motion, do you want a motion
Motion?
to go out of order and take up item 8?
Second that.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Item 8 is whereas several traffic lights and crossing signals failures throughout the city, in order to address it, that the DPW Fire Department come up with different types of bond options for replacing and repairing the lights as soon as possible. So with that, I'll turn it over to Joe and Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
So we've been working with 2 vendors to try to develop real quotes for those 10 intersections. We're still in the process of getting quotes. We've had a site visit at each location so they could see what we have for existing infrastructure, what would be needed in order to improve the signals, and they're working on a cost for that. I did talk with the DOT about doing work in the intersections, and there's some intersections where if DOT ever gives the city money to do an improvement, we have to sign an agreement with them where any changes that are made, we need their approval before we go ahead and make those changes. They said if we're just upgrading equipment, then we don't need their approval. There isn't a review process. It's if we get into changing the geometry of the intersection, if we're trying to add an additional right-hand turn lane, that's when they would want to get into reviewing it. Or if we wanted to change the light sequencing, if we wanted to put in a longer green light for one phase, or even add like a flashing yellow turn.
Oh, like at 202 in Homestead?
Yeah, that if we have an agreement with them, then they would need to review the timing sequence before they would approve it.
So it depends intersection by intersection?
It does, but our goal right now is to put in new equipment and lights so that they'll function day in and day out. And then after that, we'll take a look at improving the efficiency of the intersection, and if we need to make modifications to the phasing or the geometry. And that would be outside the scope of Joe and I. We would need to hire engineers, traffic engineers, to do that work.
In the scope of this, can you also get a quote for the light that's warranted at Apremont and 202?
Yeah, we should
Thanks.
have all the, the pieces of the puzzle where we'd be able to figure out what that would cost.
All right, do you guys want to go over the items, or, I mean, you have, in the folder, it's each intersection, and then it says a list of certain things to do. I mean, we don't have to go through each and every item, but can you guys give a broad view as to the assessments that are going on?
The 3 major intersections that we're working on to get done quickly as possible are Hamden and Route 5, Dwight and Route 5, and Cherry and Homestead. Like Mike said, we met with the contractors, we did an overview of all 11 intersections. I've been meeting with them regularly, going back to see what we can do, how we can improve it, and so forth. Those are the 3, first and foremost, that we should get done. As for figures, we're looking at roughly $125,000 to $150,000 for those 3 intersections each.
Each, 150,000 each, okay.
That's just a ballpark figure. Those are not hard numbers.
150 to 200?
$125,000 to $150,000 those three intersections.
And that's for all the equipment, the installation, or what's the 150 doing?
It's the new cabinet, the controller, new lights, new cabling,
Want to hit your mic? Okay.
Apologize.
Thank you.
new cabling, new conduit where it's needed. The only thing at that intersection, at those three intersections that will not be touched are basically the mast arm. Okay, if we, like Mike said, if we were to get a new mast arm at that intersection, engineers would have to come in, and that is a design change.
And the mast arm's the pole and the arm that sticks out that holds the lights. And we would need an engineer to design the foundation for that because of the weight and the snow load, wind load, dead load, all of that, so that it doesn't just tip over on its own. And then this would be, a group effort where we would have the contractor providing the equipment and doing making the electrical connections, and we're assuming some of the work can be done with DPW with trenching for conduit. So there would be some cost savings there.
You?
A timetable by when do we get the final cost or anything?
I am hoping within the next 2 weeks. We met with them mid-October. And like I said, I've been meeting with them on a regular basis to go over each intersection to upgrade it.
And these are the contractors we use when we have problems with intersections, where if a pole gets knocked down, they help us fix it. So they know the city, it's just they're small and local, and they're having a hard time getting us the final numbers.
So with this list, this is the top 10 that we've talked about several times. The top 3 you've mentioned, it's about 150 each. Is that the same for all 10, or all 10 are different? Or?
All 10 will be different. If you go down the street to Sargent and Route 5, there's only a couple of changes that we're going to make there. One is to add a left-hand turn lane going east on Northampton Street, going south on Northampton Street, a left-hand turn going down Sargent Street. This will eliminate some traffic at that intersection. Beach and Linden will be kind of costly. I'm requesting all new conduit at that intersection, as well as all new lights and pedestrian lights at that. That's Beach and Linden. That's going to be costly. It's not going to be $150,000. I would have to say it's going to be close to $100,000.
And the quotes are gonna come back for all 10 in 2 weeks?
I'm hoping within 2 weeks, yes. I
For
put
all
in
10.
11. I put 11 intersections in here. I stuck in an extra one to see if we can get that done.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused on this, the Beach and Linden, 2 streets go the same way. Is it the right intersection?
Beach,
Beach and Linden both go north and south, I believe,
correct.
right?
Hamden and Linden.
Hamden and Linden, okay.
Hamden. I apologize.
Oh, the one down by,
You know,
off the
Connell and
bridge?
Sons?
Yeah, off the bridge. Okay, so it's Hamden and Linden, okay.
Hamden and Linden.
Also here is Counselor McGivern. Just to keep going on this, once we get the quotes, I'm not gonna hold you to numbers. The last time we had a bond, it was a little over $1 million, I think, what, $1.4 million? And that was for some lights and streets and sidewalks. That's why it got kicked away. What
think
is the estimate for all 10? Just a rough estimate.
I think the bond request was for around $4 million.
Maybe that, well, there's been
was the
2
light.
different bonds for lights, so.
It was the lights, sidewalks, roads,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of stuff. I still think we'll be in that $1.5 million ballpark.
For all 10?
For the 10, give or, plus one, yeah. Well, 11.
For all 11, yeah, there we go.
Well, I guess we're up to 12 now because of
12.
Apremont Highway. So 1.75.
Okay. And I'm not gonna hold you to it, but
Yeah.
have you discussed this with the mayor in the sense of you're gonna be coming back for a different appropriation once you get everything finalized?
Yeah,
He's in, okay.
yeah.
And what's the time frame if everything goes well? What would be the time frame that these start and then ultimately complete?
So if we were to get the bond, there would be ordering of the equipment, which I think they said was six weeks or so.
6 to 8 weeks.
So 6 to 8 weeks to get the equipment, and then installation and everything else would be,
Probably another 4 weeks, if not longer, just because you've got multiple places and dealing with traffic and traffic control will take time. So probably another 6 to 8 weeks for installation.
okay, and you're not gonna do it, you know,
Not gonna do it when it's snowing.
right, not during the winter, so you wouldn't really start till spring.
Right, right.
Any questions from anyone? All right, so
You want
I'll make a motion that's complied with pending that we get the updated quotes in 2 weeks or whenever they ultimately get here.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Then we'll go right back to the top. Make a motion, move to the table, item number 1.
So
All
moved.
those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is the 2017 Emergency Preparedness Grant. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good. All we have is a one-sheeter. It says, we're receiving $14,460, and then that's it. So what's the money for? Is there a city match? Usually the grant comes with it so we can read it, so I have nothing.
Okay, this is from MEMA. It's an emergency management preparedness grant. It's for $14,460. There's no match. It's going to be used to harden security at the fire stations throughout the city with security cameras and things like that. All these fire stations are used during emergency management activities, so security at these sites is very important. We're also going to be purchasing an accountability system. In the event of an emergency, we'll be able to track people, where they are, where they're working, and that information will be sent back to the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. And then the rest of the money will be used for office equipment.
And do we have a breakdown? You know, cameras, 4,000.
Yep. The video surveillance system is going to be $11,800.
And that's for all stations?
Yep. 2 cameras at each station that will report back to headquarters, so everything can be monitored from one central location.
Okay.
The office supplies come to about $800, and the personal tracking and accountability system is about $1,600.
Any questions? Yeah.
The main entrance, or the back of the fire station, where the cameras are gonna be?
Right, there'll be one at the front of the station monitoring the front bay doors, and then there'll be one at the rear of the building monitoring the back door.
Do you have any issue with the new ambulance in the station, or everything is working?
No, everything's working great. We have no complaints.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming down. The question I had is the accountability system. Could you explain that a little bit? Is that for all fire department employees, where they're?
Correct. It'll be used for fire department employees and for city employees that are involved in, whether it's a weather emergency or a natural disaster kind of scenario. It tracks where you are. It's in like a name tag, and when you go into an event, you put the name tag in, so the incident commander that's running the scene knows who's there.
And knows where.
He knows where everyone is, and then at certain time frames during the event, they take an accountability test. So they check where everyone is, make sure everyone's okay, and then we move forward.
Okay. And is that something that's sort of new, or is it something you do now but not?
We do it
Really
now,
track it,
but
yeah.
this is more modern equipment to get it done. Ours is very antiquated, and this equipment's much better, and it's going to be newer, obviously.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Is there a motion for this one?
Motion to approve the grant?
Second?
Motion
Accept it.
approved. Motion is approved and accept. There's seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Next is item number 2, make a motion, move to the table.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This one is the Municipal Energy Technological Assistance Grant, or Technical Assistance Grant. Andrew, how are you, sir? Good, thank you. Tell us about this one.
So DOER puts out these META grants, Municipal Energy Technical Assistance Grants, and there's no match. And what they are funds that are available to municipalities that are green communities that can be used to do ASHRAE Level 2 energy analyses of municipal buildings. In this instance, we're encouraged to apply for it because obviously we're looking at ways to improve building performance. And what we did is we targeted not specifically the three most we didn't look at buildings according to their inefficiencies. What we did is we looked at buildings according to a good representation of buildings that used power, weren't going to go anywhere, and needed to have improvements made. And you can track it over the past 8 years based upon power consumed to each building. So the police headquarters, Dean Tech, and fire station number 3 were kind of identified as good locations for doing ASHRAE Level 2 analyses. Obviously, police departments, it's used 24 hours a day, so that's going to use a lot of power. At Dean Tech, you have machine shops, and those use a lot of power. And fire station number 3, just kind of based upon when it was built in late 60s, early 70s, it just has different energy standards. So what the benefit of these grants is, so you hire an engineer goes through, looks at the mechanical systems, looks at, the way the building was constructed, and identifies projects and costs out the amount of money it would take to implement a project in a different site. So you can say, all right, we need to make an improvement at fire station number 3. We know it's going to cost X number of thousands of dollars. The payoff period will be this. And so what you can do with these studies is you can take them and use them for applying for green communities funding, which is another sort of no-match grant that's paid for through the Regional Greenhouse Gas Alliance Trust Fund. And you can apply for those funds, and you can use those funds to make improvements to buildings. So it's really a more or less a planning tool that has a definitive product that can be used for reinvesting in city buildings.
And what's the total amount?
I think it's under $15,000. I forget exactly. It's been a while. It's kind of put on the back burner, but I think it was roughly $15,000.
So max $12,500 per
Okay.
town plus 10% administration fee, but is that what we're getting, or?
Max 12,000, and we didn't have an administration fee attached to it, so it's just 12,000.
12,500.
Yep.
All right, any questions? When do they start the study? Or when do they start the,
It makes sense. So once the account is created, obviously, once the announcement is made, consultants start sniffing at the door. So there's a number of consultants who have already expressed interest. Once an account is made, I can work with purchasing to issue an RFQ based upon procurement laws. An RFQ is a little bit faster than RFP, and we can hire somebody. And the benefit of doing it now is obviously the buildings are more heavily used in the wintertime. For example, the schools, students are there, there's heating costs. So you get to see the buildings when they're stressed in the wintertime. So.
no match. Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Just a quick question, on how are the determination made of what buildings are selected? Is that something somebody picks out or something to look at every year as a change?
What we've got, so every town who's a green community has this program called Mass Energy Insight, and what you do is you load in all of your usage data, and there's benchmarks based upon square footage of each building compared to the buildings across the state with the same profile. And like, for example, and then you rank it according to consumption per square foot, and you get this chart, and it shows you buildings that are more or less efficient per square foot. Dean Tech is one of like the biggest power users in the city, just because of the size and the function of like what goes on there with the shops and everything. Fire station number 3, it's less efficient, just because of the time it was built. So it's a ratio of like square footage to power consumption. They're not the least efficient buildings, but they are buildings that obviously the police headquarters is not going to go anywhere. It's like that's a building that's going to stay there. So I think that's the selection criteria. Is I worked with gas and electric, with gas and electric staff, and worked with Mike McManus to go through and just identify different buildings, and obviously talk to the two chiefs.
And the time frame when they get this, when this goes through, after you do the bidding process, would it be like a couple months after that you get somebody to?
The good thing is a lot of planning projects. There's always like a public involvement, but this doesn't have a public involvement, so it's just like you're hiring an engineering firm to just crunch some numbers based upon data that's available in the building. So I've never done one of these before, or never hired anybody for this, but I can't imagine that it would take too long, because obviously $12,000 when you're hiring an engineering firm isn't going to go too far, but you will get a report that can be used to do like more wise investment of funds.
And then, like as you stated here, you could possibly get another grant to make the efficiencies?
Yeah, so one of the hardest things about doing the Green Communities grants is everything has to be, you have to quantify like the dollars that are going to be saved, the energy that's going to be saved. The lights, I'm sorry about the lights, we got the wrong lights from the company. These are 5,000 K, they're supposed to be 3,000 K, so they're going to be a little bit warmer, but, so this is an example of
Wondering
like...
about that. I was wondering why they're so...
Yeah, they're too blue now, and they're gonna be warmer. But so for something like this, you go through and you quantify like, so for example, City Hall, like all the lights that got switched out that are still being switched out by the time's all said and done, like 120,000 kilowatt hours are going to be saved in City Hall, which is almost like 20 to 30 houses, depending upon how heavily you use it. So we have to plug that in, we come up with a formula, we figure out how long it's going to take to pay it back. So, but a lot of the work that's done to get to that point is sort of front-loaded to like identify projects. So the good thing about this is we would have like a cookbook of projects that we could just say, boom, we need to do this here, and we get funding. And so far the city's been pretty successful with getting these projects funded. And the approach that internally that we've liked about using these meta funds, the technical assistance grants, is that there's no match. You can do a lot of the work that, say for example, an ESCO, an energy services company would do, but you're leveraging your resources rather than bonding out like an insane amount of money to have them do the exact same thing. So it is piecemeal. It does take time, but the benefit is that these funds, for the foreseeable future are going to be available. They release these funds every year. So conceivably, we could just continue to go through, identify buildings and come up with improvements that need to be made rather than, we've researched ESCOs and, they have their pluses and minuses. And the benefit of having this piecemeal approach is if all of a sudden things just go haywire, you can put the brakes on. But once you've engaged in a 20-year bond with the company, then it's hard to put the brakes on that. So
Yeah, I think it's important. It's great that we can try to continue to do this every year and get so many buildings looked at, and as time goes on, to not only save the energy and save money, but make things a lot more efficient for the community. I think it's something that we can still keep doing, continue. Appreciate it. Thanks for your help.
Anyone else?
Second.
To approve and accept. Seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Next one is item number 3. Make a motion to move from the table.
So moved.
All those in
Second.
favor? All
Aye.
opposed? This is a transfer from firefighters to injured on duty, $4,053. Anyone from the fire department for that, or they didn't realize it?
Seems like it might be a decrease.
It was, it's only
Yeah.
one person.
One.
So one person injured on duty, that's the amount. It's one of the same people from.
So it's just basically something we've been doing. We, have a check on that because maybe before the mayor would do it without us looking at it. So I think that's important. I make a motion to approve the transfer.
Hold on, Joe?
I still have my questions for the chief. Number of firefighters injured on duty, number that are out now, the amount of overtime that's being spent.
One out now, based on that one right there.
The last meeting, there was several.
Right, so
Last one was
we can make a motion to table theirs if you want, but first the motion was by Counselor Tomlin to approve. Do you want to continue with that, Peter, or? I mean, if you can get it before the next city council.
That's what we said the last time.
And it didn't happen.
We did. Peter first, because Peter made a motion.
the only thing is you said it was one person. That's, and I know we had, last time we approved, I think it was several, wasn't it?
Yeah, but
And then they'll get the answer.
there was a request at that time that the chiefs do come
Okay.
back with a better list as to number of injured on duty, has it gone up compared to other years, and why?
We didn't get anything.
And nothing was given to us, and then when this came in, we did say it Tuesday night, that Tuesday night, we want it when we take it up, and I think police have it, because they ran back to the office to get that. So.
They just weren't aware of it being here?
No,
The fire
they were
department?
aware of it. They were told last meeting and
Okay.
Tuesday night, we said to Ryan to, as well as it was, Joe made the motion to
What-
request that.
Was the chief requested from Ryan, or was it just, I know the fire, it was?
The fire was represented tonight, because I think he said hurt his back, or is it police chief hurt his back? One of the chiefs is hurt. That one's hurt. Why not this chief? I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, I know the fire department was here, maybe they just didn't realize that was on there. But I'll take it back, I'll go along with Counselor McGivern's statement and table it, or Counselor Lopez, just table it for,
I'll second the motion to table, and if we get the information
Before the meeting?
before the meeting, we can pull it out and,
vote on it.
sure.
So motion is to table it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so item number 4 is the police department injured on duty. Make a motion to move from the table.
So,
All those in
Second,
favor,
aye.
all opposed? This is for $24,966.37 from patrolman to injured on duty, of which it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this list. And
Yep.
let's see here, we have,
Hey, John.
that's October 18th, there was 5. November 1st, there was 1, 2, 3, 4. And then November 13th, this invoice is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So with that, I'll turn it over to the police department.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, the chief isn't feeling well, so we offer his condolences for not being here. The paperwork that was just given to you by Sergeant Hart is just on the fiscal year spending. Just in the past several years, we're around $100,000 less for the fiscal year of 2017.
All right, and with that, Joe, I'll turn it over to you, because you had some questions.
Yeah, how many injured on duty police officers do we have currently, and how many have we had for the whole year?
I don't have those numbers available. I would just say several. I'm not even sure if that's up to date right now. It does change pertaining to the physical aspects of our job.
And how much overtime is being used to replace the officers injured on duty?
That's hard to project right now, just because we have officers in the police academy and people retiring and vacations and stuff. So it's really hard to get that solid number down as far as projecting the cost for those individuals out.
Have any police officers retired due to injury in the past year?
To our knowledge, no, sir.
Can you get us the answers I asked?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, as far as projecting overtime, it's really hard to get that number. I mean, we can go by taking a patrolman's salary, like if a patrolman's out injured on duty, that patrolman, whether or not that shift that he's on, whether it will be covered or it won't be covered, depending on if someone takes a day off, if someone calls out sick. So it's really hard to figure that number out. Plus, that individual has a different pay rate as someone else. So someone else coming in to fill his position may have a lower pay rate. So it's really difficult to crunch those numbers.
How is the overtime account?
It's still in the black, and
It's all you're getting.
yeah.
Not kidding. Well, when we get the answers, I'll be ready to vote on it, but
Thanks for coming down. I'm wondering if you're seeing any changes in the nature of the injuries or the frequency? Is there any trending going on, or?
Yes, I think with the addition of the tasers and additional training, the numbers themselves right now speak for it, that we're not seeing officers get your typical injuries due to a physical contact with the suspect.
Okay.
As we all know, we've had tasers for several years. They're a great deterrent, mostly through YouTube, because everybody watches what they do, or PD Live. I've been on several calls, and just the fact that an officer shows up with a taser calms everything down right there. And the fact that we're getting more tasers, more officers are being trained. Obviously, more plans are coming up to get more tasers. We're easily around 90% that our officers have gone and received the critical incident training that Manny Reyes, our lieutenant, is heading up. And I think that's helped a lot with that. Sergeant Rayner and myself increased we basically call it simunitions training. It used to be 4 hours. We've increased it to 8 hours a year that every officer will go through it. And we come up with situations ranging from, just making contact, where the officers are now not, because it's an 8-hour class, you're not rushing to the, quote, horrible active shooter, we get to throw numerous scenarios where now officers have to engage more than just the physical aspects of the job, that we're using the CIT training that a majority of officers have. So they get to play scenarios with it where it's more, we have more time where officers can de-escalate to gather information. So with all of this, like the tasers, the additional training, we're seeing definitely a trend that we're not getting as many officers injured out in the field.
So what nature of injuries is increasing? Because it seems like there's been more recently.
No, we haven't seen any significant trends as far as specific injuries.
They've all been
for
just
injured on duty.
unique
It's all been
incidents.
Yes.
similar, yeah.
So you're not seeing anything different that's leading to
No,
the numbers?
no.
Thanks.
I agree with Councilor McGivern. I mean, the numbers are going down, and the money, we see the injured on duty now from before. Before, we never saw this, really. It was just a transfer, you know. Now we're voting on it, each one, I think last month we voted on, I don't know, it must have been 8 different line items for injured on duty. But my concern also is the cost, you know, when you have somebody out. And I know it's hard to pinpoint it, but, you know, because you have vacations, you have people retired, you're replacing that person, you have people that are sick, people in training. But, you know, when you got 5 or 6 people out, and they're probably different shifts, you know, you got to replace those people somehow. And that's where the cost comes in. And that's my concern, is the overtime cost. Because you got to fill the cars, you got to have the cars out there every day. And, you know, my big thing over the years with the budget is trying to keep the fire department, the DPW, and the police fit. You know, I know you have a gym, and I know there's incidents that you can't, you know, things going to happen. You're going to get hurt, and part of your job. You know, but there's other things that, you know, can help prevent injuries, because, you know, when you keep on having these injuries and you're replacing people, you know, to fund, you have to have the police cars full, but it's just the costs just keep going up, even though the transfer, even that money's in that person's line item, you're paying them, but for that person out for 2, 3, 4 weeks, that's where the costs come in with the overtime. That's my concern.
Thanks. I just want to make sure I'm looking at your chart correctly. So 2011 through 2016 would be for the full year, and 2017 would be, what, 5 months?
No, 2017 is for the fiscal year, which ended in
Okay, so
June.
the completion.
June
So
30th.
what we don't have is this year and how it's trending.
Right, this year
Which is, the impression that we're getting is that this year is higher.
No, this year, right now, we're right around 89,000.
Okay, that's what we were,
So
that's
if you
what we
divide
were,
that by 11, it's around
looking to see.
8,000
Okay,
a pay
so
period. So we're looking
we're
at
missing
roughly
this 6
around
month period, or
200,000
5.
if we stay on this trend.
So you're at 89 for July, August, September, and October?
Yes,
So for 4 months,
up
November.
to today.
up to today, so 5 months.
More than
Technically, maybe more than last year.
I just wasn't sure if we were looking at
A little bit
what
more.
we were looking at
It
here.
would come out to probably 210,000 if we maintain that number.
Okay,
So 2013, we didn't have tasers back then, right? That's the lowest year so far, 157. And then 301, 334, 280, dropped down last year, now. So why was there such a dip in 2013? True.
last year.
There could be a lot of factors, depending on crime numbers. Most of our injured on duty are dealing with suspects. It's, I mean, there's obviously motor vehicle collisions. We don't have the exact breakdown for that.
I don't want to jump into personnel stuff because we can't. But how are they evaluated? So I get injured on duty, how am I evaluated to?
Officers are sent up to the Work Connection, Holyoke Hospital. Dr. Bombardier sees them.
And then can they come back on light duty and stuff like that to work back in, or is
Yeah, they
that
can.
available?
After a certain period of time, contractually, they can come back for light duty. And they do.
Any other questions?
I just want to make it clear, just so everyone knows that these numbers are already budgeted for. So this money being transferred is that injured officer's own salary. So it's just going from
Right.
that to the other one.
The real issue is the overtime, which is not addressed
Right.
in that number.
Right, and like I said, it's really difficult to pinpoint and put specific numbers to injured on duty, because you have various factors. You have, if a person's injured on duty and he works for the Detective Bureau, well, that's not really taken away from the patrol division, where a car is still on the road, so there's a lot of different factors.
So just to step back a little bit and just look at the whole picture of the budget, given the budget that we approved for the whole year, and say we can't parse out what's relating to this or what's relating to that, how are you running against the whole budget if you project out to the end of the year? Are you within budget overall?
Right now, we only see probably a deficit in the motor vehicle area. So we'll probably be coming back to address that area for motor vehicles. Right now, we don't anticipate on the personnel side anything, but that's just how it looks right now, a rough guess.
Thank you.
Joe?
John, Matt, and when the chief is feeling better, about 2 to 3 months, we're all going to be sitting here, and you're going to be requesting overtime dollars. And as it's taken place every year for umpteen years, someone's going to say, one of the reasons we need overtime dollars is injured on duty. Now's your chance to explain to us and tie it into it.
Well, last year, we didn't come back for overtime money.
There was money transferred within the budget.
As there is every year.
Yeah.
But last year, we didn't come back for overtime money. But yeah, that's it. That's one of the reasons. I'm not going to disagree with that.
It was moved. Hence why the orders we now have to track it.
Right, and keep in mind, too, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know how many motor vehicle accidents are going to happen. We don't know how many riots or shootings or anything else is going to happen. So it's just the nature of our job. We get injured.
Other questions?
No one's questioning that. We understand the nature of the job and appreciate that. And injured on duty is important. It's just a way of tracking it. But what we're talking about is a budgetary question this evening. And the idea is to figure out how we can lessen that overtime dollar figure.
And we're working on it, believe me. We are trying to project things just like our retirements and stuff, so.
All set. Thanks.
Great. So, is there a motion?
Hopefully you will get the answer back.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
This motion is approved. It was-
Should we articulate the remaining question?
That's up to you. The motion right now on the floor is just to approve. Is there a motion to approve with a request?
Is there a counselor that has a specific question?
I for now, accept Sergeant Hart's answer that, we're not going to get a direct correlation to overtime from what's going on. But I figure that's going to be a better answer in 2 to 3 months when we're all sitting here again about the overtime. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
He called me sir. He's never called me sir,
Never, right?
Not
So we
since
second?
not since Avery Field, no.
Motion is to approve. It was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those no, opposed? No. The ayes were Lopez, Bacon, Tallman. because you're not answering the questions that Councilor McGivern had, so at that point at the full council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right, make a motion to move item number 5.
So moved.
All's
Second?
in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is the PARC PARAC grant for Valley Arena Park. Now, item number 6 is also $100,000 for, I'm not taking it up, I'm just letting people know. $100,000 appropriated to pay for Valley Arena Park. And I do believe item number 14 is a bond appropriation that does deal with that area as well. Am I correct on that?
The same park?
Can we take them all
So
up?
there's $550,000 appropriated to pay for cost of city playgrounds, including, and it goes on and on. Doesn't that one include Valley Arena Park?
Does, yes.
So you have, the reason I bring it up is how do you want to address it? You want to go in order? Do you want to take them as a package? How do you want to go?
Well, the last one, that last bond, the 550,000, where we requested leave to withdraw.
Okay, so we'll make, all right. We haven't taken it up yet, but I just want to let everyone know what is on the agenda so we don't miss it. So we'll go with item 5 first, or do you want to take 5 and 6 as a package because they kind of
Package.
go together?
Motion to suspend and take 5 and 6 as a package.
In a second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So item 5 I read to you is the grant. Item 6 is $100,000, order $100,000 is appropriate to pay costs for rehabilitation, construction of the park, lighting, planting, etc. The treasurer is approved by the mayor for, this is a bond, correct?
Item 6, I think, is the bond, and item 5 is a grant receipt.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I'll turn it over to whoever wants to go first.
I could start if you'd like. And to be clear, the item that was the 550,000, it's not that we would request that it be given leave to withdraw, but there's a time sensitivity to Valley Arena in particular. So there was a submission for specifically Valley Arena separately, not knowing what the council's inclination was, whether it was going to approve the entire bond package for the other parks. So I at least cannot make the representation to give leave to withdraw to everything.
Well, for that.
Just to be clear. So Valley Arena Park sits in South Holyoke. It is one of the properties that's in the urban renewal plan, which is why I'm involved. It's not very often that you see me here for something involving a park. And the rehabilitation of the park comes at a time where we're also putting together a housing project around Carlos Vega Park, as also is called for in the urban renewal plan, Area 8. We started exploring ways of putting together a project there as the community was also talking about how to reuse its parks in the area. Councilor Roman has been very active in this field, and looking at where the park had fallen short on grant requests before. There was some unknowns around environmental conditions there because of the parcel's former use, first as a I want to say oil storage depot, and then after the construction and fire at Valley Arena, at the Valley Arena building, which is what gives it the name that it has today. So we did some initial research, some documentary review with some consultants, got the site surveyed, and that really lined us up to go for some grant money, which is item number 5, the park grant. I believe the council's familiar with it. The city has gone for this for was it Pouliot Pool? And then you may also be familiar that about this time last year, the city heard back on the park grant. And so one of the, I will say, intriguing and perhaps annoying things of the grant is that you have to have certain language approved by the city council before the end of the calendar year, which is why you probably were running around at the end of the last calendar year. That is also the case this calendar year. What makes it even more intriguing is that the grant announcements haven't actually been made yet, but we were advised last week that we still, even if announcements were made the first week of January, in order to be to qualify to expend the monies of the park grant, should we be lucky enough to get it, we need to have the language as part of item 5 approved. So it's essentially saying if we get the grant, we're approved to use it, and that would be about $220,000. I think we have the exact number, 219.
219,443.
Correct. So that would be 70% of the project cost, give or take, which is what Park can pay for, 70%. The bond in item 6 of $100,000 would be, if you will, the city's match to that. And so the total project cost would be just about $320,000. What's envisioned there from the community engagement that the ward councilor has work that he's done is a park that targets families for South Holyoke and middle school aged children. There would be about half of it would be green space. There would be providing facilities for outdoor cooking, barbecue, trash receptacles, benches, rehabilitated half basketball court. The one that's there is pretty deteriorated, and a handball court. The outdoor cooking idea came because a lot of the folks who live in South Holyoke don't have that ability living in apartment buildings. And when people do take that opportunity, unfortunately, we've seen that has the ability to lead to fires when people are cooking like on their porches. So providing that opportunity has a level of security beyond the reaches of the park. So I think that's the overview from my end. I'll defer to Mike and Terry.
And it would also include cleanup of the park.
Well, let me clarify what that means. There is no hazardous materials that we know of at the park. In fact, we have a lot of documentation, even done by HG&E as late as 2007, not showing any hazardous materials. What is likely present at the site was when Valley Arena was taken out, an asbestos-containing boiler and some pipework was taken out. We have reason to believe that there is still some piping underground, and this was dealt with in 1997. This is quite a while. With the resolution of taking the boiler out, they didn't categorically state that we've found every piece of pipe that was in the ground. However, there was a resolution between the city and the Department of Environmental Protection where certain things had to be done, a certain amount of fill, a barrier had to be placed, and then that recorded in the registry. Nothing was ever recorded at the registry, so we cannot prove that the additional fill was provided, and
Is that what we need to do?
as part of the work, we would do that. So, hypothetically, could we do that now without a project? We could. Ultimately, if this is going to be a park over the long term, it would be more expensive for us to do a small cleanup project, right? Cap off whatever we need and put a barrier, and then figuring out a park later on. We'd be doing 2 small projects at a total higher cost than if we said, we're going to redo a park. And as we redo it, we're tearing out the old asphalt, the old infrastructure, and then we're leveling, filling, doing everything according to the 1997 plan. DEP can sign off, and then we can provide the park. I just want to make clear that there's no imminent environmental hazard for anyone that's going to the park. It's just that there's some likely legacy items underground that as long as there's a barrier, because asbestos isn't a hazardous material, it's classified as a solid waste because it's only if it's airborne is it a problem to human health.
Don't dig it up.
Right, exactly.
What's the start and then finish?
This would be anticipated for 2018 start and finish. It's not a super complicated project.
But we have no other money we can leverage? We have to bond for 100,000?
Nothing that we can prove by the end of the fiscal year.
Because I know we just got an email from you repurposing CDBG monies. I didn't even have time to read it all. Alicia, not from you, from Alicia, but I didn't even have time to read it, so I don't know what it contained, and I just didn't know if there were, other opportunities.
And the bond is a way to show that the city has its match by the end of the calendar year.
Okay, so you're more looking at that?
To make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row in order to receive the grant.
Okay.
And then certainly if something were to come up, we wouldn't necessarily have to bond.
Okay, because it just
for-
seems preferential for 100,000 not to bond, but,
It is, but this is basically a grant requirement. Proof that the city did it and committed.
That the city would have all of the money ready
yeah,
to go with the project.
okay.
And this is all in advance of being awarded money now.
Right, we're ready to go if.
The reality is if we don't get the grant, then we're back to square one. There's not
Right,
really
we
a
wouldn't-
project that we would execute with only 100,000 because, as I said, we could do some work in terms of going back to the 1997 agreement with DEP, but then we would be stuck with still having to do a park and not having enough money for it.
Right.
And that, yeah,
Right.
we wouldn't start it unless we had the budget for the whole project.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Do you?
If there's any way that we can put some language in that $100,000 that they do whatever they can to look for the money within the budget instead of bonding for the $100,000, if there's any way that we can put anything in there? Because, I mean, $100,000, I mean, for how long we're going to pay $100,000 if we borrow that?
It's usually, always depends on what the treasurer
Yeah,
is gonna, they can
that's
do a
what I mean.
10-year, they can do and they always range depending on the type of project. So
I'm in
here-
favor of the project, it's just that I want to make sure that, I mean, if they can find the money, why do you want to borrow, I mean, $100,000 when
I
probably they
think
can
it's
find
'cause
it?
we don't, and I agree, if they can find the money, use it, we just haven't found the money yet in order to.
To get it
Yeah.
done by the end of the year.
You have
Yeah.
to commit something, so this is the only way to do it now. You're saying, Mike, if you do find money elsewhere, you won't look to the bond, you'll be able to.
Right.
Right, so, I mean, he's on the record saying, I mean, it's one of those catch-22s. If you don't do anything, you're not gonna get
Yeah.
a chance at the grant, whereas if you at least put this up, if they find the money, then you don't have to bond.
Then you got
But at least
70%.
it's there. So, no, I understand your.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm on your page, but,
And remember what Counselor Bartley put in at the end of each
Yes,
bond now
yes,
is that
yep.
no change for purpose of this bond, so we kind of limit them to the project.
And actually, Counselor, the timing would allow Parks or DPW to submit a block grant, and that probably would cover the city.
that's what I was
January, yeah.
thinking. It seemed like it would fit,
Yeah, that would be
and it would be a new
January.
project instead of a repeat project.
That would be ideal. That's in
Yeah.
January, so. That's All right.
And this could even be a CPA.
I will say.
There's a lot of things on the list
There's a
for
lot of
that.
things for CPA money, but this could also.
It could be.
Any other questions for them? or-
Almost there.
Okay, so we took it up as a package, 5 and 6. We can vote on them separately, or in essence, just vote them together, because that was a
They
package.
kind of go
They go
together.
together, so.
Make a motion to vote them together and approve the acceptance of the grant and the $100,000 bonding for the park.
Second. So the motion is to approve both, and accept the grant, as well as approve the bonding and approve the grant. So that was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's that too. And last guys want to take up 14 now, or just because it's?
Yeah, we can.
So address it correctly? All right, suspended rules go out of order to item 14.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is an order for the sum of $550,000 be appropriated to pay for cost of city projects, including the park that we just talked about. Since that is in here and we just have it through another way, we're not going to accept this bond. But what other parks were in here for?
So there was playground improvements at Mayor Field, the same at Kenny Field, Rowan Park spray pad, Valley Arena. There was, those first three, the estimated cost was $75,000. The Springdale Park lighting was $100,000. But then there was also $50,000 for citywide park benches, another $50,000 for wayfinding signs, and $25,000 for solar trash compactors.
$8,000 for wayfindings.
So we can't, unfortunately, we cannot amend things.
Right.
So what we have to do is we have to deny it to then have another bond come in.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not like we don't want those projects. I mean, we absolutely want everything you just listed, but we can't do it in this fashion.
Right, and at the last meeting, there was even conversation about whether or not it was prudent to bond for playground equipment,
Right, because of the nature
for
of
the
life.
lifespan, and
Streetlights first. Need a mic.
Well, no, you can go back because we're talking about it through this.
What will be the maintenance of Valley Arena and the lighting and all that, Terry, if you have any information? I mean, are you gonna put a lot of lights, or how late are they gonna be on, and
The
the
design,
maintenance?
the whole entire design is still up in the air. What
Okay.
Marcos had talked about was, there were community meetings held about all the parks in that area. And there is a plan, like Susie was just finished and opened, and that park is definitely meant for younger kids, 8 and under. So then the move was to have it be for older kids at Valley Arena. And the design or the proposals came from the neighborhood. I'm not sure that they'll all make the final cut. There's codes, and I really would like to meet with the fire department. We do have grilling in our parks. There's one pavilion at Community Field, and people are pretty respectful. People do get permitted, but it's such a small park, I'm not sure if it's even wise.
No,
But-
that's completely accurate.
Yeah.
We don't have a final design. These are the conceptual issues that have been brought up by the community, but part of the funding for Valley Arena would actually pay for the design.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just,
actually, but all the way back to the lighting, yes, I'm assuming the lights would be improved. They were just improved immensely at Susie Park.
because I mean, the alleyway, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big mess, it's a big problem, I mean,
That's why I'm not sure about that design, if it would all work to have things situated that way.
All right.
Typically-
I won't be here, let me put it that way, so.
Oh, you'll be in the, typically though, after,
But that's my neighborhood, I mean, I
yeah,
need
you'll
to.
be there.
You can still come in, Dio.
Yeah, but I mean, I need to,
I
take care
try
of the
to meet,
alleyway, that's
I
the
try to
key.
meet with playground specialists, and if I think the fire department and maybe the handicap accessible board, and just to make sure things fit and make sense. So the actual design, I'm not sure of, or how it will all end up. And we'll have public meetings.
Thank you.
You can't get away.
All right, so on this one, kind of explained it. Are there any other questions to it, or?
No, I was just gonna make a motion on that one to deny it.
Motion is to deny.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, and what else are you guys here for, so we can?
for the community field revolving fund.
Yep.
Mm.
And anything else for you guys, though?
Item 12, the bike share, which can be quick.
Okay, so make a motion, to move item 12 out of order.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is the establish a revolving fund for the bike share program.
Yeah, so my ask on that one is simple, but it bears explaining a little bit. I am okay with this one having leave to withdraw. Yes, item 12, the bike share revolving fund. When that was filed, it was, so let me talk about the bike share a little bit so that it's understood, because there's still something about bike share that's going to be asked of the council, and there won't be an opportunity to discuss it in committee after this. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. You can all decide whatever you want. There won't be to meet the timelines that we need. The regional bike share program is an alliance between Northampton, Holyoke, Springfield, Amherst, and the University of Massachusetts, and South Hadley. There was an intermunicipal memorandum of agreement, intermunicipal agreement that was approved by the City Council in December of 2015. The intermunicipal group has been meeting and planning to execute this program over the last year and change. So when this was submitted, it was under the business plan as we understood how we were going to have to execute it, which was municipalities were going to be responsible for covering the costs of bike share in each municipality. However, at the time, which is what we had discussed in DGR, was that every municipality, including us, was going to seek private sponsorships, which is usually how these programs get funded. Think like City Bike in New York City is named that CITI because it's Citibank sponsors it, for example. However, we had the really great fortune of negotiating a good contract with an operator, Bewegan, which was kind of like the first big one to deploy these. They have 37 systems throughout the United States in cities of medium, large sizes, campuses. Under the contract, they have the responsibility and liability over the operating costs through sponsorships. So we no longer have to accept any sponsorships. The only responsibility we have is to act in good faith to help them secure sponsorships as a region. But we're not going to be on the hook for it. So that's a very positive development, and that's something that's currently tabled in the full City Council. What I meant by not having the opportunity of hearing it again in committee is that DGR will not have a committee meeting from now until the end of December because we're on a project timeline where we want to deploy bike share by April, which is the beginning of the warmer climate. We're looking to have the new intermunicipal agreement that clarifies that we don't have liability approved again by every municipality by the end of the year. So now at least some councilors know that if it comes up in the City Council, I will make myself available to the full council, however. So for the revolving fund, it's a mechanism we will not need to use.
Okay. Sure. I just have one question. So when you say we have the obligation to help them secure sponsorships, what does that mean? Functionally?
Well, it means that when the company calls when the operator calls a big company in the area, that we're putting in a good word. Yes, this is a program that we want. Yes, this is a good public purpose for sponsorships, right? Someone can decide whether to sponsor or not.
So you're like a letter of support kind of.
Yeah, letters of support.
Concept.
If they like, hey, could you who are the big companies in your town, in your area, who's interested in doing business in your city, because they'll probably want to. They'll probably want to attract eyes to your population, and therefore they want to advertise, right? The sponsorship comes with advertising on the bike or naming rights on the station,
right.
That kind of thing.
Okay. I was just surprised to see that we couldn't find a U.S. company, a Canadian company to do all this business. It was just kind of shocking to me.
They by far offered the best terms. Yeah. It wasn't that there weren't other U.S. companies. There was another one, which, funny enough, they're kind of a spin-off of the Canadian company. But Bewegan had incredibly good terms. They've actually, they believe in the region's strength for bike share so much that they're actually adding additional bicycles on their dime, not on the public's capital funds. Yeah.
I hope so.
So much for buying local, but hey, it's a global economy.
All right, so, go ahead, Peter.
So just a quick question. So no, we won't, we won't need to do this funding.
The revolving fund does not, yeah, that could be given leave to withdraw.
But we're
or
going to need
however
to
you-
sign something next year?
The
council will have to approve something next year, the agreement between the other municipalities?
Next week. Next
Next
week.
meeting, oh.
Whichever I would
By the end
deeply
of the year.
appreciate, and I am asking, that
Okay.
in
Well, I
whichever
did
of the
get
next two meetings,
I did get your info about the next two meetings, so
I
that,
sent a very long email that was easy to ignore last
it
week.
was pretty long. I'm still reading it. It's,
You're still reading it since last Tuesday, right?
That's with the MOU.
but I
Yes,
did
that's
get
the
it.
MOU.
Oh, so
the-
that'll have to be accepted by the council.
Well, if
Within the
you
next-
agree, yes. If you agree with
Participate,
it.
To
okay.
participate.
Okay.
But
yeah.
we're already participating, but what off of the approval of the last MOU, this MOU is much better. It says we don't have responsibility over the money.
Lowers
And it references the contract with Bowegan, which, that it allows for a 5-year program instead of only a 3-year program. It clarifies that Northampton is playing a lead role with the capital expenditure up front, because we got state funding for $1.3 million for the capital funding up front.
For the region.
So the state says, well, do we piece it out to every municipality, or do we do it through one? And Northampton stood up, and we all said, yes, fine. We don't
Thank
have
you.
to deal with all that. So these are quasi-administrative things that the MOU, the first one didn't encompass. And given that the company signed the contract also with Northampton, making sure that everything's aligned and they know that their contract is enforced by an MOU of everyone working
And
together.
there's no financial liability.
We do not
on
have
Holyoke.
financial liability.
Just
Good.
want to hear
Just
it
good faith
twice.
efforts, yes.
Okay.
Just to be sure.
That's why I bolded it. That's why I bolded it, yeah.
If there's no other question,
It's going to be one location, or, I'm sorry, I always.
Yes, we have proposed locations now, and I say proposed because ultimately it will also have to work for their financial model. They did in the interview process say that they didn't have a big problem with the locations that we proposed. Part of the features of the bikes is that there will be electric assist. So not to say that these are motorcycles, but particularly in communities like Holyoke, where you have a steep hill going from downtown to Route 5, it assists you so you don't feel like you're going uphill. You feel like you're always going flat. So it kicks in as it gets harder. That also promotes further ridership. So the locations that were determined mostly by a feasibility study, which was the first thing that the coalition did in early 2016, and locating in high density areas. One is in front of the of Veterans Park. One is on Maple Street in front of the library. One is in front of Seatown on Cabot Street. One is on the intersection of Dwight and Main near the train station. Then one at the intersection of Beach and Route 5. Yeah, like right at the corner of Crozier Field. And we're working to specify. We have 3 new stations that we have to kind of like decide based on what the feasibility study indicated. We've kind of kicked the obvious ones. It's like, okay, yeah, these will have a lot of traffic. But then in early December, the planner for Bowegan, the operator, will come out and see them, and with their data, also make sure that they're the most optimal ones with the information they know. They've deployed a bunch of these. We haven't. So they'll know and provide advice. Also, some of them may have to move a little bit depending on where we can get power. So good to have electric assist. You have to make sure you have quick access to power. For the 5 that I mentioned, it seems like we have good power there. Oh, and there's a 6th one at the intersection of
Dwight and Pleasant.
Dwight and Pleasant. That's an important intersection for bike lanes, and also like Cabot Street, Appleton Street, and Dwight Street all intersect there. So that's a high traffic area.
Just one legal question. I'm hoping that we're not taking any liability. I mean, like, for example, if you pick up a bike
All the bikes.
and you take a fall, we're not gonna be sued. I hope not.
Yeah, no, we're not taking, no municipality wants that. We're not taking
Okay.
on that liability. In fact, so you have to be a member to reserve the bicycle. And so you have like standard terms as a member that you're not making the city or being liable. And if anyone steals a bike, the company has to they have to repair it if it gets damaged. They have to replace it if it gets stolen. It wouldn't be wise for anyone to steal a bike. They're GPS equipped.
Yeah.
So they'll know where you're taking it.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks
so-
for the info.
Thank you. So on this one's easy, it's a motion to deny, because we're denying the establishment, for the reasons given. So, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10, take it out of order.
Second.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Or that the city hereby establish and maintain the community field revolving fund? Tabled it because we wanted an update on what they were using the money for, what costs were they using, what were the expenses, so on and so forth. So, do you guys have that breakdown now?
I do. Todd, I thought you had, I did forward. Mine, these are just copies. That's how we spent it
Thanks.
this year. I can tell you that, Parks and Rec has had control of that account since, I think, 2012, when the park was reopened. Oh, geez, I gave you all my copies. But what you have in front of you.
Going back.
No, that's okay. You'll see how it's all broken down. Community Field, all of Community Field, almost all of it, operates out of the revolving fund. Park and Rec receives a check every month for about $2,080, and then we receive 2 biannual checks for about $9,000. We take in over $50,000 a year just from the cell tower rental fees. So what's in front of you is also a few other, we do a lot of rentals of the pavilion and picnic tables, and we permit athletic games there. There's a breakdown in front of you from any money that we've taken in from January till the end of October. Then it's included with the cell tower money. And I didn't go years and years back, but what you have is a pretty good idea of where the money goes to. A lot of it goes to we have part-time staff there. Not every minute of the day, but there's staff who go in year-round, 7 days a week, part-time.
So it's self-supporting.
In that sense, all of it. That fund covers all the utility bills, that refrigerated ice skating bath, toilet paper, all the supplies
And the
needed,
staff.
activity leaders in the summer. What the full-time park DBW guys, they do still kind of maintain it. They mow it and they get the ice skating path going.
Which is under
the bigger
DPW
things.
budget.
Yeah.
How many employees work up here?
Depending on the time of year. In the summer, there's 6 to 8 activity leaders, part-time staff who average about 20 hours a week. Spring, fall, winter, there's a crew of about 5 to 7 people. Some work as little as 3 hours a week and some work 6 hours. And again, it depends on weather and if people are still in the park, people are still in the park now, and ice skating. We open up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and there's paid staff there for skate rentals.
Questions?
Just not related to this, about the gate. How would you determine to open and close that gate?
Which one?
Columbus? It's,
One by Ridgewood. Yeah, it's open in the winter so the plows
Yeah.
can go through, and they close in the summer so no one drives through it.
I know it gets opened again, I think November 1st. There's exact dates where the park guys will open and close it. I think it's Labor Day and November 1st. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it'll stay open for emergency
Right, New York?
vehicles, plows.
It's changed. The way they said it was they open it at a certain time frame, whether it be now for the winter. Plows come up the hill, they go straight through the park and move the snow.
Yeah.
They close it in the summer-ish time or spring, however you want to
Yeah,
define those dates.
might be May
So
1st.
cars can't fly through. That was how Bill said he designed the
Bill is, yes. Oh, yeah, that hasn't changed.
Other questions? All right, this, what we're looking.
I would like to say that community field is just getting more and more popular as every year
I was gonna say, it
passes. It's always very clean, thanks to full-time guys and the part-time guys. But it's been a steady increase in just regular visitors, park users having picnics and cookouts. We actually rent out picnic tables in the nicer weather on weekends. It's really the only park that we do it consistently every weekend.
And have people generally been pretty good about leaving it clean when they're using it too?
Yes, pretty good.
That's good. But I
Pretty
mean,
good.
yeah.
And that dog park couldn't be any more popular year-round. That's actually year-round, there's always somebody in the park.
Question on that, seeing how you brought it up, is are we going to rehab that in any way, or, because it's been,
Yes. I know it definitely needs new wood chips. We priced it out.
wood chips or, I mean, anything, I mean,
I'm hoping that next year, our new assistant director has a project in front of her to establish a Friends of Dog Park. Because it's so wildly popular with the users, I know that there's many people who would love to be involved with raising money, because some people want a water source, some people want equipment for their dogs to
They want
play.
an umbrella.
Shade, yeah. So,
now that you mention it, we did file orders for that,
I know.
for the shade, for the water, and it really wasn't so much the water over there, but more of a water fountain by the bathroom area for people and stuff. Were those complied with or no?
No.
Well, I know the shade's not there, I can answer that one.
No.
And a light.
A light, that's been complied with.
The light has been, okay.
I think one more tree was planted in the dog park. Yeah, every year that gets better too.
It'll grow.
The fountain, I would not recommend installing a fountain anywhere on city property until it can become safer. Most major cities, I don't think, have fountains. People smear stuff where the water comes out, and hygiene. So I haven't seen anything yet that's that reliable for cleanliness. We're there to staff it, but we're not there every minute of the day. That's basically why we don't have any in the city anymore.
Makes sense, though.
Yeah, it's good breakdown.
All right, well, the
So what were
order
we
is
doing?
to accept the revolving fund and keep it going.
Motion to
Second.
approve?
Second?
Motion is to approve, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Thanks.
Next. To item number 9, make a motion move from the table.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Opposed? That the DPW city engineer provide the city council with a assessment report of the annex building.
Keep going around with this.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
How many years has it been now?
Answer Councilor Bacon's question, how long have
How
we
many
been on
years?
this? We started on 4/26, we tabled it because we didn't get anything. 5/24, we didn't get anything. 8/31, we didn't get anything. So on 11/29,
What's up?
So you have something.
But we've been back and forth on this whole thing for years,
oh yeah, it's,
before Mike.
And this, I found this in one of Bill's old emails. So I really have no familiarity with it whatsoever.
It's 2007.
The reason I bring this up is, for those who are at home watching, this is regarding the annex building and kind of see what's going on with that building and what we need to fix it or deal with the potential liabilities. This came up because we started, it's always come up as to, you know, piecemealing, whether it's the roof or something to try and fix it. But when we're dealing with 57 Suffolk Street, some of the suggestions were to mothball the annex, move everyone over to 57 Suffolk Street. So in essence, bond and take that building over to then leave this building vacant and boarded up, which became problematic for me because it's another Essex house, in my view. So if we're gonna proceed down that route, we really should have concrete plans as to what to do with this building. Whether we're gonna rehab this one, move the school department over there, that was another suggestion, the costs associated with that, or if you're really gonna mothball it, is it more advantageous just to take it down and not have another annex problem, which cost us, it's still costing us. We're at 2.2 now for that building. So for me, that's the premise of the annex. What are the problems? What are the forecasts? And really, what are the recommendations as to what to do with this? So you probably don't have answers to all that, but that's why I've been trying to get some.
Right. And I haven't been involved in the committees that have been talking about Suffolk Street. What I was able to find was 4 different options for the annex that were developed in 2007. So these are 10-year-old numbers. They would have to be escalated to today's dollar values. And it was, you know, talking about renovating or demolishing the annex and other work that would need to be done with other buildings to accommodate the city staff that's currently in the annex. And then the last couple of pages is what we spent on maintenance at the annex last year, and it was a little more than $20,000. Most of that comes in with the heating system, you know, with the ventilation, and then there's, you know, just a lot of, you'll see a lot of Highland hardware. Line items for tiny things. Parts. Yeah, miscellaneous parts. There's also the elevator that needs to be maintained.
For a new elevator over there. I'm getting a lot of complaints that thing's a death trap.
I don't have one number, but it would.
Want to get on it?
I have from time to time.
Yeah.
It's a little scary, but I get on it.
There's an older one where I work. Or maybe as old.
Can that be replaced?
Well, yeah, it could be replaced. But it gets back to that catch-22. I mean, why would we spend the money?
Big bucks.
And then like the roof, so if you've ever been there.
For the roof. That big bond package there was a request for.
Right. But why would you do the roof if you're going to mothball the building?
That's the reason for my asking. Because it was in that, was it $22 million bond that had everything, everyone's wish list?
Right.
Oh, you mean the first one?
The first one, we've since dispensed with that because we've taken
Right.
some things out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But the annex was on there, and I think downtown, or the main office,
The DPW's office was there. Right.
So we have to make a decision about the whole building at some point.
So on average, just to maintain it, about
It's
20,000?
20 to 30,000, looking at the last 7 years. That's what we've been spending. But we've been deferring these larger ticket repairs because
you don't know.
we don't know.
So compared to other buildings, is this like twice as much?
No, it's normal.
It is, it's normal?
Yeah,
So
we're-
it's not standing out as a,
Right, we're doing the
Albatross.
normal type maintenance.
so as a building to maintain or repair, does it stand out as like the worst? Or is it like in the middle, we should just fix it and keep it going? I mean, from a I don't know, I guess a long-term point of view?
Long-term, there would be work on the heating and ventilation system that would need to be done,
And the roof,
and the roof,
and probably an elevator eventually.
and the elevator, which are all large items. I think that the cooling system, each floor has its own cooling system instead of a central cooling system for the entire building. And then you have portions of Marcos's office, which are on a separate cooling system altogether.
New windows. The windows are new, right? Most of the building?
I'm not sure. I don't know if the windows were replaced recently. But this is like Andrew with his lights. You know, it's one of those things. Do you replace the lights to make the building more energy efficient if you're going to mothball it in the next 2 years? So.
All right, so at least we got something that we can start on. So I'll say that it's complied with for now.
For now.
All right, so motion is complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
It is the most recent, even if it is.
Thank you. Yeah, we gotta act on that building.
Thank you.
Number 11?
Number.
11?
So that was
We did the 11, oh, no, we didn't do the 11.
11.
11.
Motion to move
recycle.
item number 11.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So, I have the right one here.
The revolving fund
Recycling.
recycling?
But, no, because. All right, so here, this is for the recycling program. This one was tabled. I thought you filed a new one.
Is this about the bins?
Maybe Josh filed a new one where there was a
This one's
cap.
still the old one at 25,000. We felt that was a little too high, and I thought we were coming back with another one. I'm guessing now, I think 15.
Correct.
That's not this one. This is still the 25.
Oh,
This was
okay.
the tabled one. So we don't
So maybe-
have the new 15 one, or was it filed? I guess that, because I don't have it in the jacket.
You know?
I thought Josh filed it since it was a revolving fund.
I'll have to
But if you
find
don't
it.
have it, you don't have it.
Well, if we
Now,
can
so
find it, can we?
you did give us a new one. I could have sworn you did.
Yeah.
So it's at 15.
Right.
So can we approve the 15 and find the language?
Well, I think what we can do is we can deny this one.
Yeah.
Because this is the 25. They did come back with a 15 like we requested.
Okay.
We'll have to find
Take
out,
it up
pull
next time?
from, and just say
Pull it
you
and
came
say.
back after a nice debate last time and
Yeah.
kind of should have been here for this one.
And then we could just pull it
And we'll
out?
Just pull it out.
All right,
So everyone's on the same page, correct?
okay. So you need a motion to deny
So
the
this one-
25,000.
And
Yeah.
he has, I'm almost
Which-
positive you filed a new one for 15.
Right.
Almost positive.
Who's that? Who did it? Who filed it?
Well, it's been through
Remember?
Josh.
Been through Josh, yeah.
But it addressed our concern that 25 was a little too high.
Yeah.
And taking from the fund and then, and at some point, the understanding is if we have enough bins, after we order them and get them out there, that we can always shut this account down, and it rolls back to the general.
General fund,
Yep,
yeah.
Okay, so this one is a motion to.
To deny.
Deny, not because we don't like it, it's
Right.
because
The
we.
25,000.
too much money.
Yeah. Aye, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And
Thank you.
you don't have anything on the,
13.
on
13?
13, which
That's
is the
CERT.
community
CERT.
emergency, the CERT. Wrong?
That would have been the fire department, maybe.
He took off.
Oh.
All right, motion to table that one.
What, item 13?
Yeah, well, that was 10, 11, it was tabled and. All right, thank you, Mike. All right,
Thank you.
so this one, make a motion to remove item 13.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
All opposed? What's here? I'm not sure why they left, so.
Maybe they didn't, they
Realize
This one
skipped
is,
over it.
Police
it's
department?
a revolving fund for, up to 4,000. But we didn't know exactly what they were covering or anything else. I mean, we could always prove it asking the chief to
Yeah,
tell
it's,
us. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm almost positive it's the money that comes in for,
Auxiliary police?
no, this is the fire department.
This fire department?
Yeah.
but doesn't this come up every year?
It does,
It
but I
does,
think
yeah.
we wanted to know exactly what
What
they were
it's
paying
used
out
for.
of it and stuff,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll ask him for an if you want.
I think
up
it's
to
good
you.
to know,
I'll
but-
ask him for a breakdown of what they've.
You want us
used
to
it for.
approve pending?
It's up to you. I'll do whatever.
I'm
you want.
Yeah,
okay with it.
accept it, yeah.
It's only for $4,000, I'm okay.
As long as there's no match and,
All right, so
Right.
approve
We know there's no match.
pending the,
so motion is
Approve pending, information
Pending.
be provided.
breakdown on, the
breakdown
dollars
on
Pending.
spending.
spending.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let's go back. I know it went out of order. Just make sure.
You're number 7.
3, 4. Jimmy. So,
7?
yeah.
That you or Jimmy?
Oh, that's
No, this
Jimmy's
is
order?
Jimmy's. It's Jimmy's.
Oh, you got credit.
Yeah.
Or,
Item number 7, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is the tow one.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
Counselor Leahy, that the city charge an administrative fee for all tows, and we've tabled it twice, and I handed it to him. When talking about it, he said, he goes, I'll come in, I'll talk about it, and I think he just forgot it was on tonight. And I know he had something with the parade committee,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's why he's not here
well,
tonight.
we can,
Motion to table?
Yeah.
second.
I'll make sure.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Poor Jimmy. Motion is to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that would cover everything. All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. With that, we have this. Please.
Very efficient.
Oh, the clock.
Oh, I know.
What's the matter tonight?
I was messed up on that last night, too. I'm thinking,
He goes, is it 10 o'clock already? No, it's only 9.
yeah, and you're like, oh, good.
Well, that, no, the last one, because I think it was Jimmy. Jimmy's like, hey, that clock's still
Hey,
on.
can somebody get a ladder and just,
I don't know if it's
or do they
wire. I
never
think
do that?
I think it's a wiring to it.
Is it?
Now I'm guessing, but I remember Jimmy brought that.
I think they have to get up and manually push the hands back. But see, this was a little misleading, and I wasn't sure what they were doing.
Yeah, well,
You know, whether it was calendar, fiscal, what it was, and then Joe's question had been that he